This is the Stormy Willow podcast, a lighthearted, balanced examination of the paranormal.
Hello, Stormy Willow listeners. This is your host, Sarah.
And Adele.
Hey, friends, what's up?
What's up, Brood? How's everybody's spring, beautiful weather treating them? Or is that not the case where you are?
Well,
it's really nice here in Albuquerque.
It's weather-wise, it's nice, but it's just been cloudy for several days. So I'm kind of like either rain or be sunny. I'm kind of just sick of the clouds, the constant clouds.
Mm.
You know, like, I don't mind a cloudy day, but it's just been like a few days of it. And I'm like, can I see the sunshine, please? You know how I thrive on the sun.
Yeah.
Even though I co-host a very dark podcast.
Right. I'm like, why would you complain about clouds?
Right. Yeah, my personality doesn't match this podcast, but it's just quirky. I'm just quirky.
Yeah.
You know. Well, how are you, Adele?
I am good. It's actually been a really good week. I think
Good.
Astrological forecast was spot on. At least for me, from last week.
Really? Yeah. I had a few days last week where I was like, oh, it's hitting the fan.
Like early on, keeping your mouth shut like you're supposed to on Monday.
I kept my mouth shut. I didn't lose my cool. But I think today it just all hit me, and I did get a little tearful and aggravated in the grocery store. So I think I had just like a delayed reaction to just... I don't know, just to stress and like, I don't know. I think I'm just really tired too, but I don't know. It was just all emotions.
Yeah, like mine was very much, well, I didn't really have like a Monday where I needed to keep my mouth shut over anything, but especially midweek with like that tried and true or, trying something new and kind of the grounding that you're supposed to start feeling from Taurus. Definitely felt a lot of that and just kind of being in the now. So
That's awesome.
I don't know, it's been pretty sweet.
There's definitely power in staying in the now, in the moment, and it's very hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's very tricky. I had a moment, the horoscope hit me on Friday where I literally did when I drank my coffee. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, breathe. It was kind of nice. It's like my days have just been starting out a little more hectic than they normally do. And so on Friday, I was like, okay, I can breathe for a second. And also, I did something so fun this weekend, Adele. I'm affiliated, a member of Mission Gathering Church in Charlotte, who I'm going to tell you, it's the loveliest place. Like, it's gay people, straight people, black people, white people, atheists, believers. Like, it is the coolest group of people that just really they're just doing the work, and they give me, they restore my soul that not everybody in the world is a piece of garbage, and it's just so nice and refreshing. And so for Pride, to raise money, they did a drag bingo night, and it was so, oh my gosh, it was a blast. It was so fun. The queens were amazing. They were so fun, and I didn't realize like how terrified they were to be invited to do a show at a church.
Oh, really?
Because they were like, their friend invited them, and they're like, this church is not like that. And they're like, yeah, okay. And like, they did some like research, but they were still a little like, I don't know.
What at the end? Are they going to try to save us?
Very uncomfortable thing. And they had such a blast, and they're like, this is like the real deal. And so I love that I got to sit in church and watch a drag show and do bingo and drink a beer. And like, it's just, there need to be more places like that. And maybe hopefully where you're listening, I hope that you do have access to that. But in a place like where I'm from, it is not like that. So it is very refreshing and lovely to see. And we had such a good time. We had such a ball. And I do want to say, because I feel like, in our world, people are just really going after the drag queens, man. And I want to say, if you've never been to a drag performance, go to one. It is such a lovely art form, and just the the costumes, makeup, the acrobatics, the dance.
Oh, dude.
It's unreal.
It's the greatest show on earth.
It is the greatest show on earth. And I'm telling everybody, if you've never been to a show, go support your local queens. They really could use it. And
they're so freaking talented. It's not even fair.
They're so talented. Oh my God, they're so talented. I mean, and funny, witty, very witty and fun.
If you're feeling blue, go to a drag show. I promise it'll lift your spirits.
It will lift your spirits. And I mean, I asked one of the queens, I'm like, Karen, how did you just do a flip and keep this 10-pound wig from moving? Like,
she was like, I'm not gonna tell you, bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. She's like, yeah, pretty much. But they were amazing. And so it was just a really cool way to spend a Friday night, you know. And I mean, hello, bingo. If you don't know this about Adele and I, bingo is life. So,
oh yeah, we went to drag bingo last year. I won and my wife won. I was first winner, she was last winner, and took it home.
Well, let me tell you, Stephen and I were like one away on almost every damn card. So we didn't win anything, but somebody that won tickets to a baseball game, they weren't able to go, so they gave us the tickets.
So you did win.
Nice. So I did win. And I would have won no matter what, because I just had such a good time. But it was, bingo's where it's at, guys.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
I love bingo, and you add drag with it, and it's just like, oh hell.
Yeah, we are getting very close to Pride season. So
the best. And I love it because Steven, my husband, gets off so easy because Pride and Rock Hill always falls on my birthday. And so he's like, I can't throw a party like half as good. So he really doesn't have to do anything but just invite people to the Pride events and just throw a birthday cake out there for me. And it's done. It's a great time.
Yeah. I mean, it's like synchronicity with whenever you were a child and obsessed with George Michael, and now you're celebrating your birthday on Pride. Like,
it was meant to be. It was meant to be, for sure. Yeah. not those birthday parties haven't changed a lot.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's pretty much
same music, same crowd.
You are not wrong. You're like, this is like every other birthday she's ever had.
Like since she was born.
Yeah. That's right. I came home with a little denim jacket, ready to party.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Birdie's feeling it. That's for sure.
Party time. All right. So compliments of fancons.com. Up first, we have CoreCon 2023. That is May 25th through the 28th in Fargo, North Dakota. This is a sci-fi convention.
That sounds fun.
This next one is in your neck of the woods in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Hey, Raleigh.
It is Carolina Fear Fest 2023 horror convention.
What?
So I think you should definitely go. It's at the North Carolina Fairgrounds, so you know it's going to be a big
deal. That sounds really fun. And it's Memorial Day weekend, right? So
a lot of fun to be had there. Yeah, there's quite a few that are the whole weekend of Memorial Day. We also have another horror convention. It's called Horror on Main 2023. This is May 26th through the 28th. It is in Hunt Valley, Maryland. So go check that out if you're in that area. And we also have Texas Frightmare Weekend.
Frightmare. I love these names. I love them so much. They're great.
Yeah. This is May 26th through the 28th in Irving, Texas at the convention center there. So that sounds like a weekend of just tons of fun.
Heck yeah. I need to plan them like a long weekend, like Memorial Day weekend or something around one of these.
Yeah.
That would be such a cool thing to do.
If one even comes close to Albuquerque, I'm just going to have to go.
Yes, for sure.
And then last but not least, the Surrey Steampunk Convivial. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like a lot of fun, and it's in Epsom, UK. So it'll be at the station. That's May 27th through the 28th. So go check that out if you're into the steampunk scene. I'm sure the outfits will be killer.
I feel like steampunk is like alive and well. Like it's good to hear. I think it's so cool. I love the costumes and just all the little knickknacks with it. I think it's just really, really cool.
Yeah, so a lot of fun, but I think before you head to those events, you might want to check the forecast to see how things might go for
Adele,
you.
oh my, are you like an anchor woman? Like, what is happening? That was a
I don't know.
great segue into the week ahead, which, guys, I'm
I know.
sorry. Buckle up.
Well, I'm only working 2 weeks next week.
Well,
My
you
strategy is working like a charm.
well, you may have picked a really good time to not be around people. So, our forecast today comes from our favorite twins, the Astro Twins at mindbodygreen.com.
They are
They
great.
just do a really good job of breaking it down, because I think we say this every week, astrology is really hard. It's
And they
really
make it really
hard.
easy because
So
they do
I'm
it for you.
basically I'm reading from their site today, because I can't put it better than the Astro Twins. So here it is. We're kicking off Monday, May the 22nd. Egos will be inflated, my friends.
Oh, is this because of Leo energy?
It sure is.
I knew
We
it.
have egocentric Leo and Jupiter and stubborn Taurus. And these two are going to lock into a 90-degree square, creating a hard time to temper those reactions. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh boy.
People will be obnoxious and super extra this week. It's time to summon your patience.
I don't know. I think that sounds kind of fun.
You would. Coming from that's coming from a Leo. Cancer right here is terrified of this week. I'm basically going to be in my shell.
Like everybody's going to be more over the top this week. That sounds so exciting.
Oh my gosh. So this square that I mentioned could can possibly be a good thing depending on how you look at it. It could actually shake up a very stagnant part of your life and basically force you to take a risk because you're not going to have any other choice.
I mean, that's what a Leo needs too, a good kick in the pants, or else
It's
you're just going to
so
stay
yeah,
in your comfort zone and just, you know, lack of
exactly.
luxury.
So if you are feeling that you have been pushed into some risky situations, just know that swift kick in the ass is from your from the heavens. So there you go. So that's pretty much the gist of our whole week. And then Saturday rolls around and we have a waxing quarter moon in flaw finding Virgo, which is going to magnify and expose the tiniest of mistakes. And so if
Oh,
you are maybe working on a project, you might just want to ask a lot of questions, clarification, make sure you understand what you're doing. And if you are working on something, just maybe slow down a little bit, pay attention to detail, and double check your work. I hate that.
I
I
don't,
don't
I hate it when people tell me my work is anything other than perfect.
yeah, you would, Leo.
That's
And
gonna
then,
that's gonna ruffle my
but you
feathers.
know that we're going into Memorial Day weekend, so like maybe like if you're doing a project around the house, that's your sign just to like screw it. I'll put a wait.
That's
Maybe
true.
just don't do it. Just procrastinate. And then Sunday, be prepared for a cosmic standoff between Saturn and it's going to be in Pisces, and we're going to be moving into confident Gemini season, which will serve as a reality check. So you're going to get a nice reality check, but don't let that stop you from dreaming. Like if you've had a dream that you've really or a goal you've really been trying to reach, just stop for a second, double check your resources, like your money, your time, what you're trying to achieve, and you might find like, hey, I really can do this and make it happen. So just because you're getting a reality check doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing. It might be, I can do this and I didn't think I could. So this week, be prepared for people to be extra. Saturday, maybe just pay attention to that project or just don't do it at all. Just like, I'm sorry, I would do this project, but I
No.
just this quarter moon in Virgo just isn't going to work for me. And then on Sunday, just be prepared for a reality check, which also means, hey, you might find your reality's looking pretty darn good. So, not a great forecast, but we've been through worse, right?
Yeah, it's not the worst.
Like Mercury's been in retrograde for like 2 years. We're fine.
Everything's
That's
fine.
how it feels anyway.
Yeah. Oh, Mercury retrograde was over, I think, last Sunday.
I thought so. Okay, cool. Well,
I had just started my forecast for that following day for the week or
okay.
something.
I've got like this Mercury retrograde calendar that mom got me, and it's pretty cool. I'm like, I think it was over, but
Yeah. So that, I
I
mean, not that
mean,
that's saying that you don't have new problems.
yeah, it's like
That's
your
just not the one.
problems don't go away when Mercury in retrograde does. I wish it worked that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you just have
So
different challenges and
now you just have
opportunities.
different opportunities. What is it they like to say at work? Like instead of like, you know,
Yeah.
correcting your behavior, you have some astrological coaching.
Yeah. These are going to be learning experiences.
Oh, there you go. The universe, the heavens are trying to coach you. There
Yeah. Earth is
take
just
that.
a school for souls, and we're going to be learning this week.
I speaking of schools, I just finished a really great book and it was called How to Murder Your Employer. And it's for our book club. And it's so funny. It was kind of like a satire for like people like that have these employers that are like do bad things to other people, right? Like this one employer like was responsible for faulty equipment and people would die and he wouldn't do anything about it. And then he would like, blackmail the women in his company and just horrible people that should not be alive. And so they go to this school to learn how to terminate people and not get caught. And it's almost like a Hogwarts situation, but they're learning to like kill people that are bad.
That's
It's
pretty
so
fun.
it's really fun. And like they don't ever say kill, it's called delete. And then like at the end they have to do like their final term paper, which is basically killing the person and being successful at it. It's a wild ride. So if you haven't read it, it's a good one. If you listen to the audio, Neil Patrick Harris does the reading for most of it, and he's just fabulous. So it was a really good listen and read. So, and fun fact, hang on, the author is the person that wrote the song, If You Like Pina Coladas.
Okay.
So yeah, kind of fun. Kind of fun there.
So do you remember what I spun last week?
No, I do because you only spun it like, I don't know, 5 times now. And it was a presenter's choice, I do believe.
I'm just lucky, I guess. I don't know. Yes, it was presenter's choice. And I kind of can't believe we haven't covered this one yet.
Ooh, okay. Should I
Yeah.
go hints?
I mean, it's a big one. Any guesses?
Bigfoot.
No, but kind of in that vein.
Oh yeah, okay. I knew you were going cryptid.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, guys. Today I'm going to talk about the Wendigo.
I was close.
Yeah.
I would say the Wendigo would be a cousin.
Yeah. Definitely a cousin, I think, to the Skinwalker once you
Yeah.
learn a bit more about its origins.
Oh, the Wendigo. All right.
All
Let's
right,
do it.
guys. So before we get started, I'd like to thank my sources, Britannica.com and the Canadian Encyclopedia.ca.
Way to go, Canada.
Yeah, so I was happy to cover a bit, get to talk a little bit about Canada.
Right? I mean, have there been sightings of the Wendigo in Canada, maybe?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there have been so many encounters with Wendigo. I love the, what is it called? Shit. I don't know. I guess I'll just pluck them at a different time. I listen to a lot of podcasts on like encounters, and Wendigos are always like way up there. Yeah, let's kick this off with a poem.
A poem. Oh, okay. Let's.
So, a poem called The Wendigo. You knew I was coming for you, little one, when the kettle jumped into the fire. Towels flapped on the hooks, and the dog crept off, groaning, to the deepest part of the woods. In the hackles of dry brush, a thin laughter started up. Mother scolded the food warm and smooth in the pot and called you to eat. but I spoke in the cold trees. New one, I have come for you. Child, hide and lie still. The sumac pushed sour red cones through the air. Copper burned in the raw wood. You saw me drag toward you. Oh, touch me, I murmured, and licked the soles of your feet. You dug your hands into my pale melting fur. I stole you off a huge thing in my bristling armor. Steam rolled from my wintry arms, each leaf shivered from the bushes we passed, until they stood naked spread like the clean spines of fish. Then your warm hands hummed over and shuffled themselves full of the ice and the snow. I would darken and spill all night running until at last morning broke the cold earth and I carried you home, a river shaking in the sun. And that is called Wendigo by
Sorry, go ahead.
by Louise Erdrich, and that was written in 1984.
Wow. So just another reason why I don't like winter.
Oh yeah.
We're just gonna say that. Yeah, not a fan. And wow, what a creepy little imagery there.
Yeah, way to set the tone for this delightful episode. So yes, the Wendigo is a very, very nasty creature you do not want to encounter. And yes, they are very dangerous. They are just ravenous creatures that will devour you if you encounter one. So if you ever think you see a Wendigo, run away.
So if you're out hiking and you see a Wendigo, you would not recommend taking your poles up and clapping them together like you do with bears. Like you just gonna have to run the hell out of there.
Just run away. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Don't even try. But we'll get into potential ways you might be able to defeat a Wendigo.
Oh, thank you. I would like to have, I feel like, since I'm spending more time in the woods these days, I need to file this away.
Yeah, so
just in case.
All right, guys. Well, let's just talk about like the origins. So, I mean, the Wendigo is, I think, like I said, there's been so many encounters and sightings of these creatures all across, I think, North America. But the origin is really with the Plains, Great Lake, and First Nations people. So it's part of their lore. So really, those groups of people are any North American indigenous group who speaks an Algonquin language. So
Okay.
I mean that covers several tribes.
Yeah, for sure.
So because it does span so many groups, it does have many different variations.
Makes sense.
So I'll try to talk about, some of the biggest like variations of this creature.
Yeah.
So they're located in the northern U.S. forests of the Great Lakes in central Canada. So they like the cold wooded areas.
I'd say I don't like the cold.
Yeah. And these guys are kind of a double threat.
No.
They can appear as a physical entity, like a creature that you usually see if you like Google it with like the antlers and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're also an evil spirit that can possess a human.
Right.
Yeah, so they're again really, really dangerous.
Right.
All right, and according to legends, let's talk about the spirit first. So the spirit supposedly can enter a person through their dreams.
No.
So like
No.
and then once you're possessed, you become like a crazy violent cannibal.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Oh no.
but it's okay because they're drawn to certain types of people. So that's the good news.
That is good news.
So they are drawn to really two main types of people. One is like the greedy, gluttonous, excessive person.
Gotta look out this week.
Americans.
Extra people of the world.
Yes, the excessive people.
It might be Wendigo feeding week.
So guys, be careful. Go stay somewhere warm.
Yeah, yes.
Or like check yourself because I don't know, but I didn't see any way to, exercise them once you are possessed. So
that's
maybe
terrifying.
check yourself before you wreck yourself, okay? Or try to kill a Wendigo. But they are also drawn to people who are extremely hungry or starving. I think who could turn cannibal, it's like your moment of weakness.
Yeah.
Like, so, and we'll get into that. So yeah, if you're like in a really extremely like starvation kind of situation, it might just draw a Wendigo to possess
I
you.
like that.
Um, and there's even a term called Wendigo psychosis, which was used by the early 20th century by psychologists to describe symptoms of feeling possessed by a cannibalistic desire. I don't know if they
Oh,
really use it today, and it might have just been like a term of the time.
right.
Because there's this, there's not complete agreement on if that's a real psychological thing or not, or anyway.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a fun fact. All right, but now we get into the creature, which I think is the really fun part. um, so just like across all of these different groups of people, there's different stories and the way this creature looks. So we'll just cover the main ones. So they're created whenever a human practices cannibalism. And I infer that you become a Wendigo. Like, really, like, so a Wendigo was once a person. And then
Okay.
through an act of cannibalism, or some people even say if you're extremely greedy, you might become a Wendigo and not just be possessed. So you could either be possessed or you just might become one. It depends on, which group's story you're
Right.
who you're asking. But they are described as very emaciated looking, so very skeletal. So we're
Yeah.
talking about like that cold starvation kind of look, right? They have ash gray skin, almost like a corpse. And they kind of look like human, I would say jerky. They're kind of mummy looking in one
Yeah.
version. This is not the most popular version I've heard of, but this is still pretty horrifying.
Yeah, it is.
And it actually reminds me more of a really scary TikTok I saw of one that looked more human and just didn't seem right, like out in the middle of nowhere, like
No. I
screaming
like
for help.
the ones I mostly am affiliated with seeing kind of like have like the antlers and they look like an animal.
They
But
don't,
like they're
yeah, they don't
upright.
really look
Like
human.
you could see their ribs, but like they look like more like animal.
Yeah. So this, yeah, like I will share the TikTok on our social because there's one that's more human looking, and that video just scares the hell out of me.
Sounds really disturbing.
Yes. And sometimes this is also a version that I wasn't as aware of. They're sometimes just like a giant, like over 15 feet tall, like huge, like as big as the trees.
What? Now that is terrifying.
And they get bigger the more they consume. So it kind of ties into that greed, right?
Oh,
Like they become more and more bigger monster.
Oh.
Yeah. But I think this is the one that most people, especially from pop culture over the last few decades, are most familiar with. This creature has pointed ears, antlers like a deer, or sometimes horns.
Yeah.
They have really deep, like inset eyes that glow like coal. And they have big yellow fangs, which just sounds gross. And they have really savage claws. They have overly long tongues that kind of hang out of their mouth. And usually they have torn or bloody lips, if they even have lips at all. Like they just look like very frostbitten, kind of tattered lips. I think they look kind of deformed and humanoid. Like there's some humanoid aspects, but overall they kind of look like a deer human hybrid, but more deer.
Yeah, like a deer standing upright.
Yeah.
Situation.
And sometimes they're covered in matted fur as well. And the biggest thing is their smell. Like you smell them coming. Like
That's
so
horrifying.
keep that in mind. Like they smell like death and decay. Like they just smell horrible.
Lovely.
So yeah. So be mindful of that. I mean, even so, if you're out in the woods, you probably don't want to be near a dead carcass either because of the, things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just be mindful of what you smell, guys, when you're out and about. And supposedly they have very good vision, hearing, and smell, just like hypersenses. They're very, very strong, very, very fast. They can move very easily across ice and snow.
Oh, no.
So, and sometimes they can even move over open water, and depending on who you ask.
Wow.
And they have great stamina, and all of these things make it so they are so good at stalking you. as prey.
It's terrifying.
Yes. So, are they possible to stop?
Yes, they have to be, right?
Well, in some versions they are. Like you can use a typical weapon that you would probably use against another human, like a bat, a gun, a knife.
That are
Like,
so fast, that would be really hard.
right. So, according to some, you could potentially duke it out with them. And if you're victorious, live. And
I'm thinking like if you had a hair dryer, if they hate heat, it's like,
well, you're kind of onto something because in other versions, like that's not going to work. Mortal weapons won't work. Like
yeah.
you have to wait for it to be subdued or somehow subdue it, and then once it's subdued, you have to cut out its heart and melt it in fire, and that's the only way to destroy it.
That just sounds impossible. It's an impossible feat.
Yes.
I'm not trying to be an naysayer, but that
And then,
seems unlikely.
right, it's like, how do you even subdue one with that greatest? I don't know. I don't even know if they
Like,
sleep. Like,
I'm not Shira here. Like, I have no idea.
it's just better off to avoid them altogether to not, so you
Yeah.
don't have to do all this.
So
And then,
I'm just gonna real quick cancel my camping trip that I had planned, and you just continue talking about this.
and then according to some, only a shaman can defeat it with
Oh,
spells and their shaman power.
wow.
So
But like, I'm thinking if you happen upon one of these, you probably don't have access to a shaman or a shaman power, so you're pretty much just screwed.
right, and I mean, maybe you should only camp with the shaman.
Yeah, maybe that's like I'm adding that. Like, REI has like a camping backpacking like checklist. I don't see shaman on there, but I'm gonna ask that they add it,
Add it, please.
especially
If you're
during the winter seasons.
yes, if you're going like cold forest, take a shaman.
Take a shaman with you.
So yeah, these are pretty nasty creatures, but oddly enough, out of obviously, so if somebody actually really did encounter it and got devoured, they wouldn't live to tell their story. But there are so many encounter stories that I've heard.
Really?
Yes, that are supposedly true. Like, you have to take it with a grain of salt. But I thought I would read a few from Reddit. They're kind of short and sweet. But if you are a follower of Darkness Prevails, he's a host of a few different encounter kind of shows. Even Tales
Okay.
from the Break Room is like weird encounters at work.
Oh, that's
Um,
fun.
so he does a really good job and has several Wendigo, supposedly true encounters. So
Oh, let's hear
definitely head over
'em.
there to check out some of those longer ones that are like full episodes.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna cover a few short and sweet ones. I haven't actually read through like all of these. I just randomly picked 3 from Reddit.
I love it when you do cold readings. They're my favorite.
Yeah, so we're gonna do some cold readings. So the first story is from our Wendigo Stories, and it's entitled "My Friends and I Think We Were Being Hunted by a Wendigo." All right, and this was posted 3 years ago, so I mean, relatively
Really
recent.
recent. Yeah.
And I think okay, so the username, I have a horrible username too on Reddit. I'm gonna spell it out, but then I'll tell you what I think it is.
Okay.
It's L1KMATAINT, and I think it's Lickmataint. I think that's probably what their username.
So, like, watch this. It's kind of like when you
Lickmataint.
spell boobs on like your scientific calculator. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Gonna use a 1 and not put the C to get past.
Oh no.
So,
Okay.
according to Lickmataint, 3 years ago, they say the whole story takes place on an 8-mile stretch of a road in Hamlin, New York.
So
Right
cold.
location.
Check. Yeah, right location.
Yep. So let's hear what they have to say. I was 16 years old and went on a fishing trip with my 4 friends, Brian, Mike, Ethan, and Joe. The fishing spot was under a bridge 1.5 miles away from any houses. The day started out fun. Everybody was excited to go fishing, and smoke, and the walk to this. There we go. That's what they're really doing. They were
Okay.
excited to go fishing and smoke, and the walk to the spot went well. There were squash fields littering the sides of the main road, so we snagged a
Squash
few.
fields. I don't think I've ever seen squash fields.
I don't even know what that would look like. Maybe it's because we're not from up north.
Maybe.
That's really
Okay.
convenient, though.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, so they snagged a few squash and continued on and also grabbed some corn.
Okay.
So the hunger is not a factor here,
Right.
but the cold is. So
The
let's see.
cold is, yeah.
I mean, assuming this is during like a cold time, but they're going fishing. I don't know. We'll
Right.
see. All right, so we get to the spot and fish for a few hours until it was 9:30 p.m. This is where shit pops off. ...
Yes.
But
It's been real.
But before I say anything else, I want to recognize that my friend Brian is a descendant of the Navajo tribe.
Okay.
And believes in druid stuff. I'm an atheist. Okay, so
Thank you for clarifying.
I get it. So you're not. They probably don't believe in Wendigo.
But they do now.
I bet they do now. We start to hear dogs barking in the distance, like a wild pack of dogs. But the chances of that being a thing are low, so we consider coyotes. That makes sense.
Yeah.
We soon realize that coyotes don't bark. That's true. They yip. They do like a yip, yip, yip.
They
yip.
do. That is true.
Yeah. So that's out the window. We're all a little bit paranoid at this point, so we come to the conclusion that walking back the 8 miles and downing a bottle of rum at Brian's house was a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. I concur.
A quarter way back, my friend Brian stops dead in his tracks in the middle of the road. The expression on his face changed from concern to the look of fear. I walked up to him wondering what was up, and he grabbed me by the wrist and pointed my hand out into the field, and all I could see looking back at me was a pair of eyes the size of footballs. That's huge. Whoa. So this is like that giant form, perhaps.
Yeah. Eyes as big as footballs.
Footballs. That's massive. Me and Brian agree silently to keep it between us as to not freak everybody out and end up getting split up. So we just kind of pick up the pace so everybody is forced to follow at our speed. Halfway back to Brian's house, we pass a white farmhouse with a cornfield across from it. Next thing I know, it feels like a plane buzzed. A plane buzzed by, and there's about a 40-yard trail crashing through the corn. Oh, and all while this is happening, we heard the fucking dogs following us. Yikes. Okay, so they're like walking past the field, something sounds like a plane buzzed over, and they're still hearing these dogs following them.
Not cool.
As we return at Brian's house and pull out the fucking 12 gauge and a bottle of rum, sit on his porch, we hear the same dogs from earlier start whining off in the distance like they were upset at us. I then proceeded to have night terrors while drunk at my buddy's house. LOL. That was it.
So, all right. So they didn't actually see the Wendigo. They just saw the eyes.
They just saw big eyes, so they didn't actually.
And just took what? And we hadn't started drinking at that point, just smoking.
Supposedly, yes.
What could that be?
I don't know.
Eyes as big as footballs?
I mean, that would probably be well over 15 feet, though, right? Wouldn't that be like...
Yeah, I would think so.
I'm trying... I don't see...
All right.
Really any further, like, follow-ups on description of what my... I
wonder what the night terrors were, if they all had night terrors or just lick my taint.
Lick my taint. Well, that's also horrifying, right? Because if he's having these night terrors, then it might be trying to possess him.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. One person replied, and they said a theory. This is not a skinwalker. Replied.
Okay.
It's a theory that was the Wendigo's crops, and you stole. Oh, they stole their food, so it got pissed off.
Oh. So it's like, I'm just going to teach you a lesson, fellas.
But then Jack the Bear replied to that and said they don't plant corner crops. They consume all flesh that is in their path. I agree with that. That's what I know about them. So
Right. So why they
maybe
wouldn't care about squash.
it could have been the farmer though. They passed that white farmhouse.
Maybe like
Really?
maybe he has a Wendigo as like a scarecrow.
Yeah. Or maybe it was just footballs on like a hay bale.
I mean, that's where those footballs went.
And he
They
was
got
just
tossed in
like,
that
these
tree.
fuckers took my squash. Go get them, doggies. Well, he's in New York. He wouldn't sell that.
I was, well, maybe upstate. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know. I don't know, guys.
Um,
That would still creep me out between the,
I mean,
regardless of Wendigo, like a wolf pack that seems to be following me, I'd be pretty afraid.
yeah, that's terrifying. I mean, we can't confirm Wendigo, but still a very terrifying adventure.
Good call on just hightailing it out of there, guys.
Very good call.
I mean,
Yeah.
because a Wendigo is something you really don't want to fuck around and find out with.
Yeah, you guys did the right thing.
All right. Two more. So this one is called Wendigo Encounter. And I think the user is Bacon B34 T down.
All
I'm
right.
sorry, I'm not really sure. There's
We'll just go with
all
bacon
right.
bee.
And you guys, I will also link these in the show notes if you want to read these for yourself or see some of the fun discussion on
I
Reddit.
love it. I love it.
All right, so this is listed as an encounter, and this was only 10 months ago.
Oh,
So pretty
okay.
recent, guys.
So this past winter.
Yes. All right, so here we go. I've been debating on sharing this story with anyone outside of my small circle of people that were there. But I want to share my experience and hope that it saves someone's life or to give understanding of what someone else has experienced.
Okay.
Late fall 2010. Okay, so this takes place in 2010, but was posted 10 months ago.
Okay, gotcha. But still, yeah, not
All right, but late fall 2010 in northern Canada, right time, right place.
check.
I went deep into the wilderness with
Check.
my father and my eldest brother to hunt for moose. We left in the early morning, just before sunrise, trying to cover as much distance as possible before nightfall. We traveled winding rivers and had to repeatedly portage over rapids all day. We decided to set up camp just over halfway to our destination. My father figured that we'd make the rest of the journey tomorrow. Well, when everybody bedded down for the night, I decided to go grab some firewood and relieve myself down by the bank of the river, just out of the reach of the light from the campfire.
Okay.
See, makes sense. Out from the tree line about 15 yards away, I could hear rustling in the bushes. Oh, this is very scary. I watched the area where I heard the noise and focused on that spot. I felt kind of funny, dizzy, lightheaded combination going on. And I could smell this putrid stink like old milk or rotten food. This is a bad sign.
Old milk or rotten food. Okay.
That's a different kind of bad. Like curdled milk.
Oh,
That's one of the worst smells.
Yeah, for sure. Oh no.
Then I saw the trees start to morph and move ever so slightly and began to take the shape of a head and slight facial features. My eyes began to adjust to the darkness, and along the tree line, I could hear this voice coming from there. I recognized it. The voice sounded like one of my relatives who had recently passed.
Ooh.
Yuck. The face took shape of my relative. Hello, they said. I've missed you. Come see me. I smiled and stepped forward a bit, but stopped to analyze the situation. My relative's face stopped smiling and became emotionless. The skin began to turn pale and peel away. Ew, chunks of flesh from their cheeks began to fall away, and I felt shock and fear overwhelm my body. I couldn't make sense of it at all, so I started to back away and make my way to camp. I didn't realize at the time that I had been walking towards the voice, and I was further away from the fire light. The voice became angry and began shouting at me to come here. So I turned to run away, but as I looked back one more time, I saw the most disgusting thing I had ever seen. It was rotting flesh on gnawed bone, caved-in eyes, and a hollow chest cavity. This humanoid creature was tall and super thin.
That checks.
Yes, I ran as fast as I could, trying to yell for help, but the fear had made my voice quiet and raspy. I ran along the riverbank and I could hear the heavy breaths and stomping feet from this thing right behind me. I made it onto the top of the riverbank, but it grabbed a hold of my leg as I jumped up. I gripped and tore the grass, trying to lift myself, and yelled as loud as I could. Then finally my voice came back and I yelled that someone has my leg. My brother woke up and ran over to where I was, and he pulled me up and took me over to the fire. I was terrified, trying to explain what I saw and that it looked like my relative, but not. I was trying to convince them that I wasn't seeing things, but my brother nodded his head and said, I saw it too. I know. Yikes. That solidified it. He acknowledged that it was real. We stayed up all night after that, rifles loaded, and close by, we packed up when the sun was coming up and went back home. We haven't shared that story with anyone out of fear of being labeled as crazy or liars.
Fair enough.
I've had nightmares and couldn't sleep for months afterwards. I would see things / dark figures looking into my window or hear whispers when I was walking home at night. Eventually, I was seeing this dark figure daily. I went to medicine man, shaman for help, but I've learned that the ceremonies only relieves it temporarily. Ooh.
That's terrifying.
Friends have given me everything from protection pouches to certain crystals. I found out that there's a strong possibility that I encountered a Wendigo. I learned that if you encounter one and survive, it attaches itself to you like a parasite. I have heard that before.
Yeah.
I learned that if you could only do this if it touches you. I learned that it could only do this if it touches you, which it did.
Yeah.
I have heard that you can get them through bites as well. But this is pretty horrifying too if it's just through touch. Ever since that night, I've been on edge when I enter any forest or wooded area, which sucks because I love being outdoors and hunting in nature. Now I always feel like I need to keep my back against something when I'm out in the wild. Anyway, make your own conclusions about this. I paid a price for being an ignorant child to the stories of old. They are real. I can attest to that. Stay safe, everyone.
You know what's terrifying about that is I'm getting that whole He-Man Masters of the Universe scene with Evil Lynn tries to pretend to be Courtney Cox's mom just to kind of like lure her in.
Mm-hmm.
That is scary.
Maybe Skeletor is a Wendigo.
I mean, it checks out.
Could be. Yeah.
The boniness. That's really horrible.
What I thought was also interesting is 7 months ago, somebody replied to this saying they also just had an encounter with a Wendigo. So Top Distance 784 replied and they said, I saw a Wendigo today. A bunch of little crying faces, like emojis. I thought it was a deer, so I stopped and looked at it, but then it started to morph into this weird, scary, slim thing and started crawling toward me. More crying faces. I just literally went back home and was fine. But yeah, I will now be investing in all the protections against any monsters that are out there. Jesus, be careful, guys. For info, I live in Arcata, Humboldt, California. Oh, that's not even like, and maybe it's Northern California.
Yeah, maybe.
California gets pretty cold. Oh, and we live on indigenous land. There you go.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. But can you imagine that? Oh, look at the pretty deer.
Like, oh God. Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories also about these non-deer. Like, there will be like a group of deer you see, and one will just be very odd. And like and I've even heard a story from Darkness Prevails about like somebody encountering a group of deer, kind of like this person. They stop to look at them, and then one kind of smiles at them. And they're like, that's not a deer.
That is messed up.
Yeah. Do you want to hear one more short encounter?
Yes, I do. Please.
Right. This is from R Paranormal, which I love that subreddit. The user is Fortune No 1557.
All right, Fortune No, let's hear it.
This is called Possible Wendigo Encounter.
Okay. We'll be the judge of that.
And this was posted a year ago. Hey everyone, not sure if this is the right place to post this, but I'm definitely spooked. Also, my very first Reddit post, so sorry if it's a little jumbled. So today, my friend, let's call her Ray, and I were in my car at night, windows rolled down, and screaming our heads off to loud music. We were feeling absolutely happy, laughing, and having a great time overall while driving around the quote-unquote rich neighborhoods looking at huge mansions. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Now here comes what spooks us majorly. We start getting a little put off because of how dark this road was. Plus, we were going into the middle of a forested area.
Check.
And everything around us was getting darker and darker. I had to turn on the brights on my car, so it's very dark. Now, we still didn't say anything to each other, seriously, only joking about being a little nervous and getting weird vibes. I make the mistake of turning down a forked road. And immediately we feel sick to our stomachs, both at the same time. I just looked at her and we both started saying about how something is not right.
Oh no.
It was just an urgent feeling of terror, dread, knowing something terrible was going to happen if we stopped the car. We felt like
gut nose.
Yeah. We felt like we had to roll the windows up because we wanted to be safer. Once we finally sped back around and started leaving, I felt an insane feeling of something watching us, and I just could not make myself turn to look to my side into the forest or behind us. The second we got off the road, it felt like a weight came off our shoulders. Again, at the same time. I've never felt this terrified before. With such a pit in my stomach and sense of dread. What was that? Seriously. I have no idea what happened or why we started feeling that way suddenly. I'm so scared even just thinking about it gives me goosebumps all over. Has anyone else experienced something like this, or do you know what it might have been? Edit. Sorry for my lack of education on what Wendigos are, or other creatures of that sort actually are. I heard from people around me that that's the feeling you get when they're around you, but I might be totally wrong. Something was definitely up, though, whatever it was. So maybe a Wendigo. I don't know.
Do we have any replies?
So let's see. There was a reply a year ago, and this user I don't know. It's the first reply if you go look at it. I'm sorry, I'm not good with the usernames. I remember hearing that humans have a keen sense for the smell of death, i.e. decomposing bodies, that even the tiniest scent of it can trigger the fight or flight reaction. It's a defense mechanism passed down over generations of humanity. It's possible that with the windows down, you both smelled the same decomposing animal.
Okay.
That caused the weird reaction.
Feeling. Okay. Yeah.
And then another person replied, this person is apprehensive _heat 459. Honestly, it sounds as if the Wendigo never was a real creature, but more of a symbol of selfishness than greed. And its legend is more of a cautionary tale. So they're not really buying into this. And they bring up a good point. I think most people, when looking at the lore, like scholars and whatnot, they do consider the story of the Wendigo to be a cautionary tale about not being a greedy jerk. And helping your community, especially in really dire, maybe starvation situations.
Right. I can see that.
But yeah, I don't see much discussion. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of discussion, but nothing I find bringing up here.
Gotcha. Those were interesting encounters.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, I think number 2 might be the winner of the 3.
Number 2, yeah, that one was pretty scary.
Yeah, I mean, all 3 are not very pleasant. I mean, especially the football eyes. It's like, what?
Especially with the first 2 having the weird dreams after.
Yeah. Yeah. And number 3, it could just be that they have maybe there was just something evil lurking in that area, just telling them to get out too,
I mean, it could have been a skinwalker, it could have been
It
something
could have been
else.
anything, yeah.
Or our buddy
Yeah.
JD.
The Jersey Devil, we love you.
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, obviously, I've never encountered a Wendigo, but
Thank goodness.
I cannot tell you though how many supposedly true encounters on other podcasts like I have heard just over
Yeah.
like the last year. Like there's a lot. And they do all have that commonality of like being in the woods.
Yeah.
And a lot of times and quite a few of them have said that it's like a disguise of like a loved one or a loved one's voice in the distance, like
Which
calling
makes
to them.
to me, that's one of the most horrifying
Yeah.
things. You know what I mean? And it's just like, can you imagine, like, oh, of course you're going
That's,
to go towards
yeah.
it. And, and I feel like the Wendigo, like, yes, like possibly a fable, real creature, who knows? It seems like it's one that has definitely stood the test of time, right? It's not one that's kind of like, oh, I have never really heard of that. Like with Hatman, I had not really heard of Hatman before, but the Wendigo, yeah. So you kind of wonder like if there is more to it than just the fable, especially with the sightings. And I mean, who knows what lingers in the woods, which is why I think sometimes the woods are so terrifying,
Oh
Like it
yeah.
could be your imagination, it could be animal hybrid, it could legit be a flipping Wendigo. Like, but you don't want to, like you say, you don't want to fuck around and find out.
Right. But it's like somebody needs to figure out what these are, but you want them to
Right.
tell about it.
Yeah. Like, I just think that it's just terrifying. Like, oh,
It's pretty scary. I mean, I
that
think I'm
is.
still most afraid of other humans when I'm out camping.
That's also true.
But I mean, because just these things, it's really funny because we just watched the movie Rampage with The Rock like the other night, and it's about like these animals who get like, I don't know, some sort of like experimental shot of something,
Right.
and they just keep growing and growing and growing and have to eat and eat and eat more. And as they grow, they keep adapting and like evolving
Oh,
and just becoming like
no.
super predators. And that's kind of like what these things sound like. So if you're in the path of it, it's just like a ravenous monster looking for flesh to
To eat.
devour. Like,
Yeah.
just get away. That's
Uh,
horrifying.
it's very horrifying. Don't want to, no offense, but I don't really want to meet the Wendigo. I'm good.
Yeah, he's no JD.
Yeah, I mean
So
JD, I would like to have a drink with, but
I,
Wendigo, I'm gonna pass.
we still believe JD could be socialized.
He could be.
He,
Wendigo, I'm
he
gonna
could.
say no. I mean, I don't want to become his appetizer. So
Mhm.
sorry, guys.
Yeah, so I mean that is the Wendigo in a nutshell. Like I said, tons of encounters that darkness prevails
Yeah,
covers. I think they're
for
called like
sure.
I can't remember the name of the show. It's so funny. I listen to it all the time, but it's like I don't see like the title. I just see the title of the episode in front of my face.
Right.
I think it's like Strange Encounters or Paranormal Encounters or
Oh,
some. Oh, Unexplained Encounters. That's what it is.
well, that would definitely Wendigo would be one.
Yeah,
And they
but
just,
yeah,
oh, I don't know. They don't look friendly, and they surely don't seem to act friendly, and they seem to have appetite. So
yeah.
I'm just gonna stay away from those creatures.
And I think whenever we were talking about like the spiritual form versus the physical form,
Yeah.
well, it sounds like you can maybe protect yourself from being possessed, but not eaten.
And see, and that's the thing that I also think's terrifying about them. Like, like with story number two, like she got away, right? And but still just with that contact, it's like a parasite. Like, oh,
Oh yeah, or it's kind of like the werewolf, or like a lot of those
yes.
other things, or
So
like
it's
it makes me think of also. Do you remember that movie Fallen with Denzel Washington and John Goodman back in like the 90s? It's
no.
about a demon who travels through touch, and when
Wait, yes. Yes, 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 yes,
yeah,
yes.
and his
And
name's
like
like
it plays that Rolling
Invisible.
Stone song every time like Denzel's
Yeah,
around. Yes, yes.
yeah,
I know
I
what you're
love
talking
that
about.
movie. It's
It
really
is
good,
but
but
yeah, but just
it
with
seems like
the
it kind of
touch.
passes like that. But not only, but at least in that one, the demon passes. But it sounds like this one just
This one
spreads.
just, yeah, like that's really horrifying. And I just can't imagine, like, you probably think you are going crazy, I would imagine. Um,
Yeah.
like seeing shadow figures and whatnot. And even having a shaman tell you that there's not like a solution, it's just everything's temporary, like a temporary solution, like that's gotta be really, really awful.
Yeah, like you're like this person might be in treatment from a Wendigo
I
possession for the rest of
mean,
their life.
for
That sounds
real
horrible.
though. That's really awful. And then just saying that, they're probably like, yeah, I know what that sounds like. It
Yeah,
definitely
like
sounds strange, but this is what happens. I mean, at least it sounds like she has her brother that also
witnessed something.
ouch and
Yeah,
be
saw
like,
something.
yes, I did see something too, you know. But man, we'll talk about camping trip, family
Ooh,
bonding gone wrong.
guys, yeah, be
I would not,
careful
I
out
mean, I
there.
adore you, but I don't want to bond over a Wendigo sighting.
No, no, thank you. I also just don't want to camp in the cold.
Me either. And that, let's be real, that's the moral of the story.
Just don't
Just
camp in the cold.
don't do it. And if you are going to, please take a shaman with you.
Mhm.
Please.
I just think it's extra messed up that if you are a person that gets possessed and turns into a Wendigo, like
Yes.
you're already a greedy jerk, but now you're still just making other people suffer because now you're devouring them. Like,
Do you think that's what happened to people like, I don't know, like Jeffrey Dahmer? Like maybe he was just obsessed by like possessed by a Wendigo.
actually, I did see that there have been some cases like throughout history, especially like I think in the late 1800s and early 1900s, where people did claim either being possessed by a Wendigo and committing crimes. And there have also been other cases where it sounds like kind of like tribal leaders will have believed in the past that maybe someone is possessed and they strangle that person to death or kill them so they don't become a Wendigo. I think all these people have gone to jail or were like hanged for doing that.
Yeah.
But there is legit issues with crimes essentially being committed in the name of either protection from a Wendigo or fear or that you're under possession of a Wendigo.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah. So
that's interesting. It's terrifying, but interesting.
well,
That was a good one, Adele. Oh, I'm not a fan.
yeah, yeah. These are nasty, nasty creatures.
Yeah, no, sir, I do not want to have a macaroon with you.
I don't know. And that was probably not a macaroon.
Yeah.
Shall we see what you are
Yes,
covering next week?
that would be great. And if I get theory, I'm just gonna go ahead and say no.
All right, let's spin that wheel.
Spin that wheel.
I want to see if you're paying attention.
What did you do? Oh, you did all presenter's choice. Yeah.
So you get presenter's choice next week.
I can't believe you. You really did. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. We've already had 1, 2, 3, 4 of this. Oh, that's funny. Okay, I can handle it. I'm pretty sure I can come up with something.
Okay, good.
Adele, that was a great story.
Well, thank you. That was a really fun one for me to cover. And yeah, stay safe, guys. Like it I don't know why I can't stop sharing my screen. But anyway, okay, you can just look at that on the way out.
Well, as we say here, like Adele already said it, but I'll say it again. Stay safe out there, you guys.
Stay curious.
And never trust the
Living.
Bye, you guys. Happy trails.
And safe camping. At least it's
Yeah.
warm, so you have that on your side.
That's right. If you're gonna go camping, go now. Stay when it's warm. Don't camp in the winter.
Yeah.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.